The beauty of this life is that it is mine to live. And your life is yours to live. It's yours to adventure to and through. And the beauty of my life, it's mine to adventure to and through. And what I've learned is when I slow down and feel into these emotions, to ride the wave, to respond to the experiences, magic happens. Welcome to the Kathy A. Davis podcast. If you are ready to crack through the armor to find your true self, to find your inner power, to unleash that power, and so you can begin to feel as though you are coming back home, back to the person you were before the world told you who to be, you are in the right place. Learning my human design at first and hearing that as a generator type, my strategy is to wait to respond, I felt some things. And if you are brand new to human design or you've looked up your chart and saw that your type is a generator or mani-gen, keep listening. But honestly, whatever your type is, there are so many nuances in this that will help you step into your strategy and authority that I invite you to keep listening. As a generator type, and those of you that are mani-gens, you as well, our strategy is wait to respond. One of the most beautiful awarenesses I've had with this strategy is that by slowing down, I can almost feel this surge of energy flood my body when my response is a hell yes. But in the same instance, I can feel a recoil or almost an internal cringe pulling away when my response to something is a hell no. When I began to tap into this inner guidance system, these inner expressions without letting my mind interfere, decisions in my life, actions in my life started to support the goals that I have because I was tapping into this inner, illogical, irrational sometimes decision, unknown. And what I've learned over the course of experimenting with my human design, specifically my strategy, wait to respond, and my authority, which is emotional authority, I've recognized that these surges are actually a mechanical process. They are actually your body, your energy within your body saying, "Yes, go towards that. You have the energy to commit to that." Or, "No, you don't have the energy to commit to that." And in all my research there's an example where it says, if someone asks you, "Do you want to play tennis?" and your sacral, that feeling inside is no way, recoil. It might mean right now you don't have the energy to learn how to play tennis. It's not a rational decision. Maybe you love tennis. Maybe you love trying something new. But when someone asks you, "Do you want to play tennis? Do you want to learn how to play tennis?" And that inner is, no, not for me. Not now. That might simply be what it is. It's a not now. Does the January weather have your skin feeling drained and depleted? Let's face it, sometimes winter just demands a little extra TLC for our skin and body. Am I right? Well, our sponsor, Osea Malibu, knows that body care matters, and their Undaria algae body butter can help you have a healthier and glowier skin all year long, even in the winter. This product is one of my favorite body care products from Osea because it leaves my skin feeling hydrated and smooth despite the winter weather conditions. Its rich and buttery texture transforms my skin with a non-greasy feel. I love it. But I love Osea Malibu for other reasons too. They are a clean, vegan, cruelty-free, and climate-neutral company that has been in business for over 27 years with their seaweed-infused products that are safe for your skin and the planet. With them, I don't have to choose between my values and my best skin. Start the new year fresh with clean and vegan skincare and body care from Osea Malibu. Right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code Kathy A. Davis at oseamalibu.com. You'll receive free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. Head to oseamalibu.com and use code Kathy A. Davis for 10% off. I will drop the link and the code in the show notes. But trust me, don't let yourself go another day without this amazing hydrating skincare product. I used to force things. I used to force things because I thought I should be doing certain things. If somebody said something along the lines of, oh, well, I cook dinner every night, I might internally recoil and think, I don't want to cook dinner every night. My husband can cook. He likes to cook. But my force, my should was, well, as the wife, I should be cooking. And so it's almost like these shoulds drive our decisions because they're very logical, they're very rational. We can see why, and I'm putting that in air quotes, something should be the way that it is. But when I slowed down and I started to notice the inner surge, I started to notice what actually lights me up, where I actually have this inner drive, this it's almost a lunge or a forward movement toward these things, these experiences in my life that I'm actually responding to without question. Understanding that I have an internal guidance system within my sacral center that can tell me, yes, you have the energy, go for it, or no, this isn't for you right now, don't go for it, has truly been an empowering part of my experiment with human design. It's all about that feeling, that internal feeling, rather than this logical thinking, this rational expectation of how something should be. And this trusting my inner sacral, my inner response, instead of my mind, can be challenging. And I'll tell you what, my mind, it lets me know every day that it doesn't love it. It doesn't love not being listened to. But oftentimes, as we're going through these be more of ourselves eras, as we're unlocking and moving the clouds and pulling away the layers and finding within us our true selves, those old parts of us, the mind that we used to give all of the decision making to, they want to be heard and they'll make themselves heard. And so this inner listening becomes even more challenging because you do have this logical resistance against it. Whether you know your human design or not, the energy running through you is still there. Those expansive pulls or pushes or nudges, those were all there before I learned that I have a sacral definition. Those icky, constricting, recoiling gut feelings that told me, that indicated something wasn't for me, those were there too. But I wasn't in tune with them and often made decisions or moved in ways that weren't actually in alignment or in support of the true version of me, the true self of me. What I like to do is I like to use human design as an awareness tool. Okay, I have a defined sacral. My strategy is with interacting with the world is to respond. What does that look like for me? What does that look like in my life? And the thing about it is it's this reality check or this glimpse into that inner energy, those inner feelings that you have. And so to lean into your body's responses and trust, it's an experiment. You don't actually have to believe it. You don't even have to believe what I'm saying about human design. But what if you slowed down and listened to that gut feeling? What result could you get? You could experiment and see, give it a try. What's it feel like? Many of us are so conditioned that we don't even recognize that energy within our body. We don't recognize the sacral pull of something that's aligned with us. We used the example of tennis before. Do you want to learn how to play tennis? If I say that to you and you're like, yeah, I do. That sounds awesome. I have this energy, this juiciness. You can feel it in your body. That's very different than, do you want to learn how to play tennis? And your body almost constricts. It pulls. I actually pulled away from the microphone when I was saying that. It almost pulls away from whatever's happening. One of the ways we experiment with our strategy is to listen to those nuances, to feel into our body. And we do that by slowing down, feeling that inner response, and recognizing that we are always responding to things in our environment. So how can we slow down enough to notice that response? It might be as simple as walking past a coffee shop and you smell coffee and your sacral's like, "Ooh, I want that. That smells good." And you actually might even do the that smells good. And it's almost a pull to turn around and go get a cup of coffee. Now, many of us might be like, go through the rational. Oh, it's noon. I shouldn't have coffee after noon because I won't be able to sleep. Oh, I just had a cup of coffee. I don't need another cup of coffee, right? We start to rationalize it. And coffee, whether you have another cup of coffee, is irrelevant. But what if that pull towards that coffee had you bump into someone you know or someone you don't know, and this whole array of circumstances happen due to following the sacral pull, because we don't know. So what if we experiment with it and we say, "Ooh, I want a cup of coffee. I'm going to have a cup of coffee." So I told you I'd be your coffee talking sister on in episode 1. Here I am talking about coffee again. Maybe you're listening to the podcast and the host says something about Maui or about one of the national parks and you think, "Ooh, I want to go to Maui." And the host might say it again. Is that something you'd want to do? Would you want to plan a trip to Maui? And right now you're like, "Ooh, I would love it." Your energy actually kind of fills up. You almost feel a fire within you. Or maybe you're like constricting and you're like, no, Maui's not my thing. I'm more of a mountain girl. Maybe I would go to Montana. So now you're responding. Maybe you you just start to notice those pulls, those urges when you recoil, when you're like, I like that, or no. Those sacral sounds, and we're often taught as children not to make them. We're told to use our words. Do you want a cookie? Uh-huh. How do you ask for a cookie? Right? We've all been there. Even as adults, we've probably said it to some child. A sacral child who hears you say, "Do you want a cookie?" And they're like, "Uh-huh." And your response is, "How do you ask for a cookie?" And they say, "Yes, please." But you know that sacral was their yes, please. Maybe you say, "Do you want another serving of broccoli?" And they say, "Uh-uh." And you might prompt them to say, "No, thank you." But you now know that is their sacral no thank you. Their sacral is just saying, "That's not for me." So where have you, if you are a Jen or Manny Jen, you've likely made those noises and then conditioned yourself to not respond that way. Or to even auto correct yourself. Yes, please. No, thank you. The sound might come up, but you automatically follow it with that more polite, I'm putting that in air quotes, response. I want, as you're going through this experimentation, as you're going through this tapping into that inner sacral, I want you to consider that it's not your mind. I want you to consider for a moment silencing the mind, really, really tapping into that inner feeling in your abdomen. Start by experimenting. You might notice your body naturally wants to make those verbal sounds. You might notice that your body smells fish from the fishmonger and it recoils and almost pulls you to move a different direction. Whereas if there's a baker at the market that has these amazing breads and loaves of breads, maybe they're even doing some kind of demonstration and you can smell the loaves of bread, your body might pull you that way. It can be a sound, and for people who are more in tune with their sacral sounds and feelings, they describe it as a surge of energy, a surge of fire, something that literally lights them up from inside, bubbling, an effervescence. Um, I'm trying to think of some other ways that people have described it to me. This an energetic surge is often the what comes, or that leaning in, almost like this openness, this invitation to, yes, this is for me. Whereas the nose might feel more closed off, might feel more recoil, might feel more a tight constriction, a more heavy or dense energy instead of this light, open energy. As you're thinking about experimenting, and this is for those of you who are not our sacral beings, so our projectors, reflectors, and manifestors, thinking about your strategy, waiting for invitations, informing, and waiting the time out for a lunar cycle with our reflectors, where can you begin to tap into these sensations that you have? So typically splenic defined people, or people with a defined spleen, will have an intuitive hit. So just looking at different ways that your energy is playing out in your body and how you can tap into that and feel that and experiment it. One of the biggest awarenesses or pieces of all of this that I want to point out is it's not logical. That's probably the hardest part of this for all of us as we learn this, as we become more aware of this energy, as we become more aware of how the energy moves through our body and how we are designed to interact through this strategy, is that the the sacral definition, this defined sacral, this wait to respond strategy, this wait to respond energy isn't logical. It's not rational. It's not a judgment of right or wrong. It's not it's it's not it's not able to be articulated. Many times generators are pulled to do things that seem off the cuff, or especially manifesting generators with their multi-passionate energy. They might make a pivot to something that's unexplainable to anyone else, but they knew when they saw it, it was for them because they tapped into this energy. The other part of this is much of the time we think we need to do things, we need to take action because we want our life to turn out a certain way. I have a perfect example of this. For the last 2 years, John and I have been talking about celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary at Glacier National Park in Montana. About 2 weeks ago, he said, "What if we don't go to Glacier?" And my insides actually were okay with it. I wanted to hear more. I wanted to explore this. But my head, my mind, had all of the reasons why that didn't make sense. We're out here, we have all the campgrounds booked. We said we were going to do it. It was, my mind was holding on to, was attached to this outcome, was attached to us celebrating our 10-year anniversary on the lake in a kayak at Glacier. I could see it. And I said to John, I said, my inside wants to hear more, but I can't detach from this. I'm upset. I'm angry. I don't understand why we wouldn't go to Glacier. This is what we said we were going to do. Why aren't we doing it? And in the past, I would have just told him, no, we're going to Glacier. That's what we said we're going to do. We're going to Glacier. And here's the nuance. Everyone expects us to go to Glacier. We've talked about going to Glacier. This is a big change of plans. Nobody's going to expect it. What's the story going to be? And so I started to rationalize. I started to logic it, and that's not my design. My design isn't to run it through my head and see what feels right. My design was to tap into that sacral that was like, "Uh-huh, tell me more. Uh-huh, tell me more." But I couldn't. I had to take a step back. And I used some of my tools and my practices, my journaling and my tapping and different things that I do to reconnect. And I said, "Okay, ask me again." And he said, "Do you want to go to Glacier?" And I could feel it in my body as a no. No, I actually don't want to go to Glacier, but I don't know what else I want. So my mind keeps going to, you don't know what else you want, so you should just go to Glacier. If you're listening to this, you might be thinking, wow, that happens to me a lot. I can feel the inner feeling in my abdomen. I can feel whether something is expansive or contracted. I can feel whether something lights me up or deflates me, but I actually take action against that. That's our conditioning. That's that's so common. And when we think about this, 70% of the world's population has the design of a defined sacral. They are a generator or manifesting generator. What would the world be like if we took more action in alignment with the energy that we have to complete it? What would that look like for you? If you're sitting here thinking, I am not taking actions based on my uh-huhs and uh-uhs, what if you experimented? What if you tried it for a week? Now, interestingly enough, John and I are both generators with defined sacrals. We also are both emotional authority, which means we ride a wave. Which I'm not going to get too much into the authority today. I want to talk more about the strategy, this wait to respond, this defined sacral. But the interesting part of all of this is for the last 6 to 8 months, he and I have been going back and forth with yes or no questions because the yes or no question allows your sacral to respond. Do you want to go to Glacier is a very, very direct question for my sacral to say yes or no to. Then where do you want to go this summer? My sacral can't respond to that. If you said, do you want to go to Hawaii this summer? I don't know why Hawaii keeps coming up. Maybe that's a sign. Do you want to go to Hawaii this summer? That my sacral could say yes or no. But where do you want to go this summer? It doesn't happen. This was very apparent with my husband and I when we talk about food. What do you want for dinner? Doesn't give our sacral anything to respond to. But when I say, do you want tacos for dinner? He can say, uh-huh, or uh-uh. Do you want spaghetti for dinner? Uh-huh, uh-uh. So not only does knowing your own way of interacting, your own strategy to interact with the world helpful, but knowing your partners as well, knowing the people that you interact with. I did a human design reading on a child's chart, and the child is also a manifesting generator or is a manifesting generator, which means that when parenting this child, the parents can actually tune into the uh-huhs and uh-uhs. They can be more aware of when the child says, yes, I want that, that the child actually means they want that. They can actually see when the child moves forward towards a Lego or a doll or a block or um, a piece of food, that they actually want that. There's a that physical movement, that sensation that they want it. And the beauty with children is they haven't been conditioned. So they aren't thinking, do I want the Lego or the dinosaur or the doll? They're just like, which one of these do I want? Do you want the Lego? No. Do you want the dinosaur? Yes. Do you want the doll? Yes, I have two hands. I'll hold both. Right? Children, do you want chicken nuggets for dinner? Yes. Do you want green peas? No. Do you want broccoli? No. They know. Human design is an awareness tool. That's all it is. It's an awareness tool of how your energy is designed to interact with the world. And so when we're talking specifically about our type and our strategy, so with generators, that type is life force energy. When you're in alignment with your strategy, when you're waiting to respond, when you are doing things, moving towards things that light you up, you have unlimited energy to do it. But a lot of us are conditioned to say yes to things, even if it doesn't light us up. And one of the nuances of the generator energy is you will complete something you say yes to, even if it doesn't light you up. So often we say yes to things and then get burnt out because it wasn't our thing to say yes to. We didn't listen to whether our sacral said, yes, you have the energy to play tennis, or no, you don't have the energy to play tennis. And so we fill our plate with all of these things all day long, all week long, all month long that don't actually satisfy us. And we burn out that energy. I want you to take from my experiences. I want you to have a tactical approach to this. Likely that 70% of you listening are a pure generator or a manifesting generator. You likely have a defined sacral. I want for this next week for you to tap into that, to notice how your body responds to those yes or no questions. And even saying something to someone like, can you ask me that in a yes or no? So instead of saying, what do you want for dinner? Ask them to say, do you want fajitas for dinner? Do you want tacos for dinner? Do you want a Buddha bowl for dinner? Do you want to go out to dinner? And then instead of thinking about the answer in your head, slow down and feel that, whether it's a jolt towards it or a recoil away from it, start to tap into that response. You don't have to take action from that. I'm asking you to start to be aware of it. If you look up your chart and you are not a generator or a manifesting generator, look at your strategy. How can you be more aware of those opportunities for you to move when you are invited, if you're a projector, or if you're a manifester, where can you inform people more so that they aren't caught off guard? Human design has a lot of pieces. There are a lot of nuances. But one of the biggest things that I've learned over the last year of doing the research on it and really studying it is, if we don't tap into the basics and we try to overwhelm ourselves with all this information, we lose sight of the pieces that could be those first steps to giving us more of ourselves back, to allowing us to peel back some of the layers and to start to crack through the armor of conditioning. And this allows us to move forward with a different energy. It allows us to move forward in the world with a more united energy to our true selves. If you are listening and you want to go over your human design body graph or chart, as we call it, with me, I will put in the show notes, I'll put the booking link for our basic foundational chart analysis and reading. We go over your strategy. We go over practical tips for you to actually apply it in your life. With some of the readings I've done, we've talked about real life examples for them right now where they can harness this energy and take action in more of an alignment to their true selves. So you can book that reading with me in the show notes. Or if you're over on Instagram at the Kathy A. Davis, you can get it in the stories and the links over there. But I invite you to just to learn, to experiment, to let yourself see if this is something that works as a tool for you. It's not the only tool in my self-awareness toolbox. It's certainly not the only thing that I've done to build more of a self-awareness about to build more of an awareness about myself, but it has been a very informative tool to use to tap into more of my energy. And it's given me a better interactions with my husband. It's given me better interactions and understanding with other people in my life. Somebody said it in one of my testimonials that it gave them a permission slip to be their true self. And isn't that what we want? We want to be more of ourselves. We want to let that out. And so in the full Be More Kathy era, I invite you to be more you. And if that is using a tool like human design to gain some insight and awareness around your energy and your decision making, let's do it. So grab the link down below to book a foundational reading with me. Like I said, we'll go over your chart, your strategy, your authority, your type. And I always throw in some cool bonuses for some things that I see in your chart that can help you start to peel back the layers and become more you. Until next time, live every day in the moment and have fun. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Kathy A. Davis podcast. If you found value in this or want to leave us a review, I invite you to do so. Also, share this with a friend, family member, or anyone else you think would benefit. Until next time.